My parents and sister abandoned my 17-year-old daughter in the desert. No water, 115 degrees. She'll be fine, my mom said. She just needed space, my sister added. I didn't shout. I did this. The next morning, my daughter was safe. Then they got the call, and their faces went completely pale. Let me tell you how it started, because it didn't start with a dramatic fight or some big explosion. It started with a ding, just a quiet little ping from an app on my phone while I was folding laundry. I almost ignored it. I thought it was one of those pointless updates, the kind that tell you your kid took 5 steps or reached their water goal. But this wasn't that. It was a low battery alert from my daughter's emergency smartwatch, Allison's. She's 17, a planner, the kind of girl who charges her phone at 72% just in case. So, a dying GPS signal from her. That wasn't normal. That was a red flag. I tried calling her first straight to voicemail. Then I tried again, and again, and again. By the 4th call, my hands were sweating. Allison was on a weekend trip with my parents and my sister Claire. They'd asked to take the kids hiking, just a simple family getaway to Arizona. Claire's kids, Mason and Chloe, went too. Allison, being the oldest at 17, had hesitated at first. She didn't exactly have a sparkling relationship with my side of the family, but Claire had sent her a text. Let's start fresh. Just us and the kids. My mom had said something similar. Let us get to know her better. You could use a break, Rosabella. I had almost said no, almost, but Allison had looked at me and said, what if they actually mean it this time? I said yes. Now, I couldn't reach her, and I had a notification telling me her watch was dying. So, I did what any mother would do. I started lying to myself. Maybe there's no service. Maybe they're just out of range. Maybe she dropped the watch and it's sitting in the car. But I opened the GPS map anyway, and that's when everything inside me went cold. The dot on the map, Allison's last known location, was not near a road, not near a town, not near anything. It was a hiking trail deep in the desert, miles off the highway, surrounded by red sand, jagged rock, and a heat index that had reached 115 degrees by noon. I called my mom. She picked up on the second ring, as if she'd been waiting. Oh, she wandered off a little, she said casually. She got upset over something. Said she needed space. Trace in the desert at noon. Claire chimed in next on speaker. She's being dramatic, Rosabella. You know how she is. I didn't say a word. Not a single one. I just hung up because if I kept listening, I would have said something I couldn't take back. And I didn't have time to waste on a fight. I opened my laptop, booked the earliest flight to Flagstaff. Then I pulled up an old number from my phone. We hadn't spoken in years, but once upon a time, we'd spent a long summer hiking the canyons together. Him as a wilderness survival instructor, me as the overprepared mom on the edge of burnout. He picked up after 2 rings. I need you, I said. He didn't ask why, just asked where. At the airport, I barely remember getting through security. My hands were still shaking, but my mind wasn't. There was a kind of clarity in the panic, a dark, cold focus I hadn't felt since childbirth or maybe since my divorce. The kind of focus where you do not have the luxury of rage. You move, you act, you survive. I kept seeing her in my head. Allison with her ridiculous sun hat, her camera bag, her bottle of SPF 70. I had helped her pack 2 days ago. I made her promise to hydrate. She rolled her eyes. I hugged her twice, said I love you 3 times like a fool who thought that would protect her. By the time I landed, Louise was already waiting near the rental jeeps with extra water, an old hiking map, and a medkit. He looked at me and said, let's go find her kid. We reached the trailhead an hour before sunset. No cars, no other hikers, just a ranger station about a mile away that looked abandoned. I showed Luis the tracker. He frowned. She's way off the main path, he said. If she's not moving, that's not great. I nodded. I couldn't speak because if I opened my mouth, I would either vomit or scream. We hiked. The air felt like it was trying to peel my skin off. My boots filled with sand. My heart thudded in my ears. We passed a dried-out riverbed, a torn granola bar wrapper, and then a scarf. Allison's scarf tied to a rock like a marker. Louise picked it up. She's trying to be found, he said. My legs nearly gave out. We kept going. At one point, I thought I saw something in the distance, a figure, a shadow. But it was nothing. Just heat playing tricks on my vision. My lips cracked. I stopped wiping the sweat off my face. Every second that passed, I thought, if I had waited an hour longer, would she still be alive? And still, not once, not for a single second, did I let myself cry. Because tears don't fix things. Movement does. We found a water bottle next, lying sideways in the dust. Louise looked at it. Still warm, he said. She's close. We climbed a rock ledge as the sun turned orange behind us. That's when I saw it. A flash of movement under a jagged outcrop. Something curled. I ran before Louise could say a word. And there she was, Allison. Eyes half open, lips dry, skin flushed, still wearing that stupid sun hat, and alive. Barely. I dropped to my knees and pulled her into my arms. Her body was hot like a stove. She whispered something I could barely hear. What? I asked, brushing the dust off her cheeks. They took my bag, she said. On purpose. I didn't respond. Not yet, because what she said next made something inside me snap in half. And that part of the story hasn't been told yet. Not until now. Let me tell you something about my family. We don't do open hostility. That would be too honest. We do polite cruelty. We love everyone equally with a side of, but let's talk about Claire for a moment. Claire, my younger sister, was the chosen one, the loud one, the sparkly one. She could fail a class and get a cake for trying her best. I got an A once, and my mother asked if I was distracted by boys. It wasn't violent or dramatic or obvious. That's what makes it worse. Growing up, Claire was allowed to be messy and moody and creative. I was expected to be calm and helpful and quiet. When Claire threw a tantrum at Thanksgiving, she got a warm bath and a blanket for it. When I cried, I was ruining the mood. And I believed them. For years, I really believed there was something wrong with me. Something too much or not enough. But then I had Allison, and for the first time in my life, someone looked at me like I was the sun. Allison wasn't loud or soft. She was sharp, observant, a little intimidating, if I'm honest. She asked hard questions at 5 and didn't smile just because someone told her to. She reminded me of me, but better. My parents never knew what to do with her. They tried in their own way, bought her glitter pens and pink sweaters. She wore black hoodies and memorized state laws just in case. So, they smiled. They included her until Grandma Rose stepped in. My grandmother Rose is a terrifying woman, the kind who sharpens her own garden shears and still mails handwritten thank you notes. She's 92, and if she told a tornado to wait until she finished breakfast, it probably would. She took to Allison instantly. Finally, she said the second time they met, someone in this family who listens. They were close, closer than anyone else in the family. I saw it happening, but I didn't interfere. It was the only time I saw Allison truly let her guard down. And Rose. She saw something in Allison the rest of them never bothered to look for. Last month, Rose invited me over. Tea, shortbread cookies, her will on the table between us. Half of everything I leave behind will go to Allison, she said. The rest will go to Claire's children. Don't argue. I didn't. I didn't even speak for a full minute. I hadn't asked for this. Neither had Allison. But I knew what this would mean, and I knew it was going to burn something down. Claire found out 4 days later. Don't ask me how. My family leaks faster than a screen door in a hurricane. She called me the moment I picked up. She was already screaming. Are you kidding me? She shouted. That's 3 kids against 1. Are you seriously okay with this? I didn't write the will, I said. Rose did. Well, you certainly didn't try to stop her. She hung up on me. My mother called an hour later. You know Claire's struggling right now. Her job, the kids, her marriage. I'm not in charge of her marriage, I said flatly. She's just scared that your daughter is manipulating Rose. That word manipulating. Allison, who has spent her whole life scanning people's expressions for what they're not saying. Allison, who says things like, it's fine, when she's clearly not fine, just to avoid making people uncomfortable. Manipulative. That's rich. After that, it got colder. Quietly, of course. Allison was left out of group chats. One of Claire's kids had a birthday. Everyone posted photos except Allison wasn't in any of them, even though she was there. She came home that day and said, "Do you think they hate me?" I said, "No." I lied. Then came the sudden invitation. "Let's take the kids out to Arizona," my mom said on the phone. A little bonding trip. No pressure. Just Claire, the cousins, us, and Allison. I asked, "Why now?" Mom said, "She's family. We should all try." Claire sent Allison a follow-up text. "Let's start fresh for real this time." Allison stared at her phone for a long time. Then she said, "What if this time is different?" I should have said no, but I wanted to believe it, too. I helped her pack, made her triple-check her charger, her SPF, her backup snacks, gave her the lecture about hydration. She rolled her eyes. "You act like I'm hiking through Death Valley alone," she said. I didn't laugh. Before she left, I hugged her twice, told her I loved her 3 times. She rolled her eyes again, but she smiled a little, too. Then she was gone. According to her, it happened on the 3rd day. They were hiking a dry ridge somewhere west of Flagstaff. Claire said, "Go take some pictures by the rocks up ahead. We'll wait here." So she did. She walked ahead, camera in hand, excited, trusting. She said she turned around 10 minutes later, and the car was gone. At first, she thought maybe they'd driven around to meet her on the other side. Then she realized her bag was missing. Not her day pack, the one with just her phone, watch, and water, her main bag, the one with her backup charger, her emergency GPS pin, her second water bottle, her map, her trail mix, her ID gone. She waited 2 hours before she stopped waiting. Then she wrote a note, slipped it in her sock, just in case. "My name is Allison. My family left me. My mom's number is in my camera bag. Please call her." That's what she told me at the hospital. But in that moment, on the rock, her body limp in my arms, she said something else first. "They took my bag on purpose." And I knew it wasn't just neglect. It wasn't just them being careless or cruel. It was a plan. A quiet, cruel, premeditated plan. Because if something happened to Allison, they thought the will would change. They thought it would go to Claire's kids instead. They thought they could make it look like an accident, like she wandered, got lost, couldn't handle the heat. They underestimated her. They always have. And me. They forgot who raised her. I didn't scream. I didn't even call them, but I did open a folder on my phone, the one labeled just in case, because I'd been collecting receipts for longer than they realized. There's something sickening about watching your child sleep in a hospital bed, even when she's stable, even when the nurse says she's going to be okay. Because all I could think standing there with a cup of vending machine coffee and sand still stuck to my boots was how close they got. How close I came to losing her, and how calm they sounded on the phone when I asked where she was. The doctor said it was heat exhaustion and moderate dehydration. Not enough to be fatal. Not this time, but enough that another couple of hours could have tipped the scale. Enough that her kidneys were talking back and her heart was riding the edge of a rhythm line they didn't like. Louise sat with me in the hallway while they ran fluids through her 4. He didn't say much, just handed me a bottle of water and raised an eyebrow. I said, "They left her." He said, "I figured." I stared at the wall. "They took her bag." He nodded. "They wanted plausible deniability. Do you think it'll hold up?" Louise sipped his coffee and said, "That depends. Do you want to go quiet or loud?" I started with quiet. I made calls, pulled every photo I had, every text, every voicemail. The camera bag Allison had stashed under the rock ledge still had her vlogging camera inside, because of course it did. She's 17. She documents everything. Turns out she'd been filming when Claire told her to go check out that ridge. The clip was shaky but clear. Claire's voice. "Go get some good shots. We'll wait here." Allison responding. "Okay, I'll be quick." Then nothing. Silence. 10 minutes later, when the camera was still recording in her hand, she turned around and whispered, "Where did they go?" I uploaded the footage, saved it to 3 drives, printed the screenshots. Next, I pulled up the GPS log from her smartwatch. It showed her walking, pausing, backtracking, walking again, circling, sitting still, no movement for 2 full hours. Then finally, my own icon arriving on the map, like a digital crescendo. I didn't call my family. I didn't send a single text, but I did email Grandma Rose's attorney, a man named Benson, who once mailed me a handwritten apology for spilling wine on my coat at a New Year's Eve party 5 years ago. He also handled Rose's estate, her trust, and every update to her well since the 90s. Subject line: urgent regarding the Arizona incident. I attached the video, the GPS log, Allison's hospital intake form, a scan of the note she left in her sock, a copy of Claire's text inviting Allison to the trip. I didn't include commentary, just facts. Benson replied within the hour. Received. Meeting with Rose tomorrow morning. The second call I made was to the local sheriff's office. Not 911. Not some frantic emergency line. Just a calm call to a small-town department near Flagstaff. I asked for the detective handling missing persons and trail incidents. I explained everything in short, clipped sentences. Did they report her missing?
No.
Did they leave the area after she vanished?
Yes.
Did they ever return to look for her?
No.
Do I have reason to believe they knew she was left behind? I do, and I can prove it. The officer on the line, Detective Moreno, listened without interrupting, then said, "Can you come in?" "I'm out of state," I said. "But I can upload everything, and I'm happy to file a sworn affidavit." There was a long pause. Then he said, "I'll send you a secure link. Don't send this over email." When I walked back into Allison's room, she was awake, barely. She looked at me with tired eyes and said, "Are they coming?" I sat down beside her and said, "Not unless it's in handcuffs." She gave me a small, cracked smile. The next day, Allison's voice came back fully. So did her sarcasm. She asked the nurse if fluid counted toward her daily hydration goals. When she looked better, she said the words I hadn't let myself think. "I don't think they ever meant to bring me home." I didn't deny it. She told me the full story in pieces. How they stopped for gas, and Claire took her emergency bag out of the car by mistake. How Claire had insisted she keep her main phone off, so it could charge faster. How her cousins had been told Allison's meeting a friend later. "We'll pick her up on the way back." They had scripted the whole thing. I asked her if she wanted to report them herself. She said, "No, I want you to." I said, "Good, because I already did." That afternoon, I got the first ping from Benson. Subject: Arizona incident. Spoke with Rose. She's seen everything. You'll want to stay available over the next 2 weeks. This won't stay quiet for long. Then I got the second ping from Detective Moreno. We're preparing a formal report and request for charges: reckless endangerment of a minor, child neglect, failure to report a missing person. We'll be contacting the individuals directly. Still, I didn't call my mother or my father or Claire. Not because I was scared of what they'd say, because I already knew. Claire would say it was a misunderstanding, that Allison stormed off, that they waited hours. Mom would say I'm overreacting. Dad would say nothing, then send me an article about family reconciliation with no context. I didn't want their lies. I wanted their silence. And I wanted other people to hear the truth before they had a chance to spin it. I posted nothing publicly, but I did update my emergency file, the one Rose once called the family fallout binder. It now had a tab called Desert. Inside it, copies of everything I sent to Benson and the sheriff, a signed statement from Allison, her hospital discharge paperwork, a single sentence written in my own handwriting. They left her on purpose because she was in the way. The next time I'd see my parents, they wouldn't be alone, and they wouldn't be smiling. There's a special kind of silence in a family where everyone's waiting to see who explodes first. It's the kind of silence I walked into on a Sunday afternoon at my grandmother's estate. The brunch was already in motion when Allison and I arrived. The table was full. Claire was seated at the far end, too composed. My parents were pretending to butter biscuits like they hadn't left my daughter to die in the desert. And Grandma Rose. She was standing by the fireplace, cane in one hand, stack of papers in the other. You could hear the silverware clinking, but no one was really eating because everyone knew what this was. They just didn't know how bad it was going to get. We sat at the far end. I didn't hug anyone. I didn't smile. Neither did Allison. Claire gave us a tight-lipped grin. The kind you give to someone at a funeral you're pretending you didn't plan. Then she leaned across the table and whispered, "Can we talk after this?" I said, "Absolutely not." Grandma Rose cleared her throat. Everyone went quiet. This woman is in her 90s, mind you, but when she wants a room to go silent, it does. She looked at each of us like she was calculating how much oxygen we were worth. Then she said calmly, "Thank you all for coming. I have an announcement regarding my estate." You could feel it, the tension. Claire's entire face tightened like a rubber band pulled to its snapping point. My mother sat up straighter. My father stopped chewing. Allison, to her credit, didn't blink. Grandma Rose continued, "Some of you have disappointed me profoundly. You tried to hurt what I love to preserve what you believe you're owed. You will not succeed." Claire opened her mouth. My mom touched her wrist like she was warning her not to make it worse. Then Rose lifted the papers in her hand. "Effective immediately, my estate will be inherited in full by one person." My dad whispered, "Allison, this is insane." My mom looked like she'd swallowed a pin.
Claire.
Claire exploded. "She's manipulating you," she snapped. "She's 17. She's unstable. She ran off on that trail by herself. She wanted attention."
She nearly died, I said.
"Oh, please," Claire hissed. "You probably told her to stage it. You're always pulling this martyr act. You left her in the middle of a desert. But she didn't have to go. You invited her. I didn't think she'd say yes." That stopped the room. Grandma Rose turned to Claire, voice like ice. "So, you admit you lied to her?" Claire's mouth opened, then shut. She tried again. Nothing came out.
My mom looked away.
My father took a long sip of water, like he could drown himself in it. Rose stepped forward. "I have reviewed the evidence. I have consulted my lawyer, and I have pressed charges." Claire's face dropped. "What?" "The sheriff will contact you this week, possibly tomorrow." "You can't do that." My mom snapped. "She's your granddaughter." Rose looked at her like she was a stain. "And Allison is my great-granddaughter. She has more of me in her than either of you ever did. I swear to you, the room could have caught fire and no one would have moved." Then Claire stood and predictably made everything worse. "You always hated me," she shouted. "You always wanted Rosabella to win." Rose raised a brow. "You think this is about Rosabella?"
Claire turned to me.
"You put her up to this." I smiled for the first time all day.
"No," I said.
"You did."
"I just made sure people saw it."
The following week, formal charges were filed. Reckless endangerment of a minor, neglect, failure to report a missing person, attempted fraud, inheritance interference. My parents hired a lawyer. Claire hired a publicist. The group chat went dead. The Christmas invite was quietly canceled. Allison received a handwritten letter from Claire that opened with, "I didn't mean for it to go that far." It ended with, "Please don't ruin the whole family over this." Allison didn't reply. She folded it in half, then dropped it in the shredder. People love to say family is everything. But here's the truth they leave out. Not all family is good. Some people just happen to share your blood. And sometimes what they deserve is distance. The last time I saw my mother, she tried to corner me in the parking lot of a grocery store. She asked, "Do you really want to destroy everything over a misunderstanding?" I said, "You left my daughter in the desert." She blinked, then said, "Well, she's fine now, isn't she?" I didn't reply. I just turned and walked away. A few months later, Allison started therapy. Not because I made her, because she wanted to. She said, "I need to talk about it somewhere where I don't have to protect you." I said, "Fair." She's still quiet, still sharp, still sarcastic. But sometimes I catch her laughing at videos again, sleeping with the door open, leaving cups on the counter, like she knows she's safe here. As for us, we don't go to family holidays anymore. We go hiking instead together. We carry too much water, too many backup chargers, and a whistle that Allison likes to blow for no reason, just to annoy me. And I let her because every time she does it, I know she's still here. They wanted her gone. Now they're the ones who've disappeared. 9 months later, we were back in Arizona. Not for a hike this time, for the trial. My parents and Claire were charged with reckless endangerment of a minor, neglect, failure to report a missing person, conspiracy to interfere with a legal trust, and yes, attempted manslaughter. Because once the full story came out, the bag missing, the watch drained, the temperature climbing, there was no more misunderstanding to hide behind. Allison testified. She stood there, calm, pale eyes like flint, and said, "I don't think they cared if I made it out. I think they were hoping I wouldn't." I gave my statement too. Brief, controlled, just the facts. And then the sentencing came. Claire, 9 years, no parole for the first 5. My parents, 6 years each. The judge said this wasn't neglect. This was a coordinated act of abandonment with financial motive. And that if not for the victim's resilience and her mother's swift action, this would be a homicide case. We walked out of that courtroom into daylight. Allison took a deep breath, said nothing. She didn't have to. Some victories are loud, some are quiet. This one, it was permanent. So now I ask you, did I go too far or not nearly far enough? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more stories like this one, subscribe because sometimes justice does get served and sometimes it's personal.